Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see, this is episode 31, a channel news video. Um, I had a pretty hectic week. I was looking to produce this channel update about 3-4 days ago, and I'd actually recorded it and had it all ready to go. And then I was making a second video for a game that I'm currently playing. That's Four Against Darkness. And while recording Four Against Darkness, my wife had come into the room and said, I smell something burning. And it turned out that the television in our bedroom was, you know, letting off some smoke. So I had to unplug that and basically, trash that entire video and, because it was just hectic. And then I thought if I'm going to redo that video, I might as well redo this one as well because, just wasn't happy with it. So I started off last weekend, prepared to, talk a little bit about Veterans Day. And so this is now a belated Veterans Day, thank you to all of the men and women out there that are currently serving. And of course, for those that have served in the past. Um, Veterans Day is a holiday that, we celebrate here in the States around the same time, or if not the same day, as Armistice Day, the commemoration for the ending of World War One in Europe. And so, when I think current veterans, and current people serving in the military, I also include those those in the countries that we consider, to be allies of, the United States for my part. And, I'm sure that, based on, that commemoration over the past weekend going on in Europe, it's a mutual ally to ally remembrance and thank you for, those that have served for, greater causes, larger causes, in some cases than just our individual nations, such as, the Great War and World War II, and other conflicts where it brought many, many countries together, um, and united to fight in a common cause. So again, thank you to those of you that have served, those that are currently serving, and I include, other first responders such as, the Coast Guard and, the fire department and the police departments and, just anyone who is out there, um, putting their health and their lives on the line, and of course for the families that are sitting home and hoping that they come home safely. And so once again, thank you. Also, during this past week, we had another significant event take place you know, in both gaming. I'm going to say that it is gaming, but it's, particularly more so comic book, and that is the passing of Stan Lee. As a comic book collector, I was always more focused on collecting Conan the Barbarian. But, Stan Lee had still played a role in Marvel Comics as it introduced Conan the Barbarian. And, there are issues that are specifically out there, colored issues of Conan the Barbarian that were Stan Lee Presents, entitled, comic books. But, you know, my respect for, what the man had done isn't just related to, solely the comics that I may have read or did not read. Um, as far as an entire industry, his impact, cannot be questioned. I mean, he is truly a legend and a founding father, in essence of comic books in the sense of pushing them forward into the into the mainstream of popular culture. I mean, without Stanley, you probably would not have had these string of superhero based movies, such as the X-Men, or prior to that, Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk, and all of those are Stanley creations. So, Stanley should be a household name. Um, and most likely globally he is. And the thing that I think most of us should try to remember is that for Stanley, even as recently as 2 years ago, so he would have been around 93 at the time. I mean, he was still doing gaming conventions, and he was still meeting with fans and signing autographs, and you know, he had he had the reputation of always putting the fans first. And so that's something that I think is very important for us to remember. Moving on forward, I was planning on doing some gaming this weekend and, have a little bit of a snafu with that. So, I may or may not get some gaming done, by tomorrow. Certainly not going to happen today. But I do have a Kickstarter I wanted to show everybody. And this is a Kickstarter that I picked up from, I picked up word from it from Eric Bloat. I think I got a message that stated that that I get automatically on Kickstarter when people that I'm following they back a particular game, and so I noticed that Eric Bloat of Bloat Games had backed this game. Um, it could have also been Jody from Questwise as well. So let me show you that really quick. And I backed this. Like I said, when I back a Kickstarter, I'm going to present it out there, and there's still some time to jump in on this. So I'm going to switch screens, and I'm going to run the very quick video of it, and that way you can see it, and hopefully you'll see the value in backing that particular game. So the game is called Never Go Home, a World War occult role-playing game. And I'm just going to fire up this.
In 1916, in the midst of the largest battle in human history, the veil between our world and the other was thinned enough to let in the voices. Soldiers, driven by the emotions of war, pride in country, fear of death, love for comrades, began to hear the whispers. First, they were urged to greater success by the mysterious powers now at their command. Then, they were driven mad by their slow loss of humanity as the whispers demanded more and more. Never Going Home will put players in the scarred landscape of the First World War and challenge their will to survive in a world turned upside down, first by war, then by magic rituals, and then by walking nightmares. Created by Wet Ink Games and featuring the art of Charles Ferguson Avery, you are never going home.
So as you can see, it's already met its pledge goal by double, and it has 16 days to go. So certainly an interesting looking game. The art looks awesome. Um, I backed it at the $45 level, just so you know. So the soft cover deluxe edition, and there's several funding levels that you can go to. So $10 for a digital edition, so PDF. So that's certainly or about the average cost of a PDF. And this is for a whole game system, not just a supplement, so that's not bad. $20 for the soft cover edition, so that's certainly not bad. It's not showing the 45 because I backed it, but there was a 45 and then a $65 for the hardcover deluxe edition. The reason why I don't go with the hardcover is that I prefer soft cover. There's just more room in my space available for them. And then, going beyond to the $250 level, which, quite honestly, I can't afford. So, just stretch goals that have been unlocked, I'll fast forward to those. There's a dice set. I kind of like these dice because they have flies for the pips instead. I'm guessing that's a six. So that's pretty cool. So kind of unique. We'll most likely add a set of these dice to the collection. And then if you want to add an extra set of dice, you can come with a set of five. You can increase your pledge by $15. All right. So then there's these $15 for these journey cards. It's a deck of cards. So I don't know what role they might actually play in the game. I might get it. I'm not sure. Here's the leather bound books. Add a copy of the character campaign journal. So these are campaign journals. Basically, it's probably a faux leather bound, blank sheets inside. I'm not going to bother much with that. So here's these digital goals, and then the physical goal is a new adversary. So I'm assuming that each of these goals unlock upon content for the core book, additional physical content to the deluxe edition levels, and allows us to add more add-ons. So this first one, Eric Bloat, I'm assuming that he has written this new adversary. So introduced a new adversary. Then Craig Campbell, Ben Warner, Elizabeth Chapret, sorry, can't say it. Brandon Atten, so Armistice Day. So these are all the unlocks already. We're kind of close to the 16,000, so another adversary. It would be great for this to get all the way to the full 25,000. So we can see, everything that's going to be added. I'm hoping that Jody, we got up to the 22 so that we can see the GM screen for the deluxe tiers. So that'll be cool. All right. So bottom line, I mean, it's an interesting, theme, and the artwork looks, really cool. If this is the artwork for the books, I'm going to be really, really happy with that. So I recommend it. And, when it does come out and when I get either the PDF or the physical copy in my hand, then, then I'll do a review of the game once I've actually taken a look through the rule book and gotten a sense of how the system, actually works. So, moving forward, what I was planning on this weekend was I was actually planning on writing an adventure for Conan 2D20 to once again honor veterans, basically by writing a story about veterans returning home from from a conflict that they actually lost, and so I wanted to try to capture that sense of returning troops and returning from a loss. I can't imagine what that's like. I was much more fortunate in my own service, returning from Desert Storm, that we returned home in with parades and fanfare. And I have many Vietnam veteran friends who had a very different experience, and so I wanted to introduce that kind of an idea and that feel of a returning soldier to a, you know, to less than ideal situation returning home, in order to express that feeling of hope that doesn't happen, and that doesn't happen again, at least in our experience. So I'm hoping to have that adventure written. It'll be put off probably until about next weekend. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please hit the like. If you have any comments that you'd like to leave, please feel free to leave comments. Comments are, very useful for me so that I can get an idea of what else you'd like for me to see, if or show you. And if you have a Kickstarter out there, as I demonstrated here in today's video, if there's a Kickstarter out there that you'd like for me to take a look at, if I choose to back it, I will certainly give a shout out to the game. And then once I get the game, I'll do a full review on it. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime in the next few days or week. Have a good afternoon.